Just a quick one. I was asked on Twitter, be interested in your thoughts on the proposed cattle cull in Ireland to meet climate targets. Here's a story from Wednesday last week. Irish government to cull 200,000 cows, aiming for a 25% reduction in agricultural emissions by 2030. It is described as a bold move to combat climate change. I'm struggling to see something other than astonishing and breathtaking stupidity. I mean, am I missing something? Firstly, have the Irish people collectively agreed to eat a quarter less beef from now on? What about the people to whom the country exports, given that 90% of its production is exported? Presumably not. So all you're really doing is displacing the production of this food from your own country to elsewhere. Does that reduce the climate impact of beef production on the planet? In the slightest? I mean, only if you know that other countries likely to take up the slack are all much more efficient than you are in how they produce beef. And of course, they're not, by and large. So you're making the situation worse globally in order to meet your targets locally. Since it's a global problem, hard to be polite about that as an outcome. But if other producers were more efficient, you'd think that you would spend time learning their techniques and reducing the impact of your own beef, rather than simply giving up. This action is in the same category as that of the Netherlands, where they're planning to push a significant percentage of their farmers out of business in order to reduce nitrogen emissions locally. Reducing the impact of your food sector on the environment is not a benefit if you do it by reducing the amount of food that you produce. I mean, how is that not blindingly obvious to these people? Reducing the impact of food production, that would be good. Reducing the amount of food produced with a still growing world population, potentially pretty disastrous. It is the sort of policy we associate with highly centralised, usually authoritarian regimes. Targets get set centrally without due care and attention, and how they play out on the ground can then be destructive and counterintuitive, and in an authoritarian state, no one dares to point out the problem up the chain of command. Now, the EU is certainly centralised, bureaucracy rather than dictatorship, but apparently no less prone to stupidity for that. But you would at least hope it would be able to be pushed back against and for rational argument to hold sway. The problem is that targets get set, hard numbers are tied to political and economic incentives, so people focus on meeting the numbers, not in solving the problem that they were originally set to solve. It's a situation where you wish there would be a truly effective political opposition, one that would share the common goals of reducing the impact of climate change, but point out the blatant stupidity of how they're being pursued. And even when it's not blatant stupidity, just providing the democratic and critical scrutiny of the detail, which every single policy proposal benefits from. Unfortunately, too many of those who imagine themselves to be in opposition go instead to arguments like climate change doesn't exist, which makes them very easy to disregard as not serious. The official opposition that does think climate change is important seems reluctant to provide that scrutiny, for fear that doing so will strengthen the hand of those who would argue that it's all nonsense. But surely nothing strengthens their hand more than allowing demonstrably stupid, destructive and counterintuitive policies to be put into action, leading to an inevitable and well-deserved backlash that could easily become attached to the whole policy area if you allow that to happen with such incompetence. Let's hope some scrutiny happens, some pushback starts to really make a difference in this policy area. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please share with anyone else you think would also enjoy it. Word of mouth is really important to us. And if you've not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? As the saying goes, that subscribe button won't smash itself.